Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. A surprising change announced overnight by the Boston Breach. Vivid benched by their starting roster, and it's Doug Sensor Martin from their academy stepping up to the... I'm just kidding. It's Crump from their academy stepping up to the starting team. I got it up myself. A surprising move though nonetheless. We've got loads of reactions here from the pro players, Scump especially saying, wow, this is definitely unexpected, but I can understand why this has happened. We'll dive into it over the coming minutes. What does this mean for the future, or is this a big mistake? Very much enjoy to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, this from the Boston Breach with Beans here, as you guys can see, dressing up as the Incredible Hulk. They've got a cool watch party going on April the 15th for one of their final couple of games of the qualifiers. It's actually their OpTic series they play, so if you guys are local to Boston and want to go to the Helix Esports Center to watch this series at the watch party, would be pretty cool, I'm sure. The other one that might not be quite so enjoyable is the London Royal Ravens watch party that they're doing on a couple of days next, or well, I guess this coming Friday and Saturday. So the Boston game on the 7th, the Legion game on the 8th, they're doing watch parties for alongside Insomnia, and thankfully I guess they're the first games of the day, so it's not too late. But I mean, yeah, might be pretty for London, we'll see, but they're doing it nonetheless, which is pretty cool, right? A lot of these teams, like you're saying, oh, okay, Rokkr are doing these cool local activations. I guess other teams should step up to the plate as well and give some chances for their fans to enjoy stuff, even if it's not an actual home series as Rokkr did that past weekend. Also wanted to mention some crazy numbers here, which are certainly positive in some senses. That Modern Warfare 2, because we saw last night, right, that the numbers for Warzone are pretty much in the mud, the lowest they have been as an actual game. And also, this is translated over to Twitch viewership hours. So this is, looking at Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer compared to Warzone, and this is the first time since Warzone came out in March 2020. So it's been 3 years of Warzone outpacing multiplayer, regular multiplayer on Twitch broadcasting and stuff. And, that's obviously on the up, and Warzone's certainly on the down. And it's the first time in 3 years this happens where it's had more viewership hours multiplayer than Warzone has. Now, of course, this has been carried in large part by the CDL and the watch parties, Scump and Call of Duty themselves. You can look at the watch time numbers here. But in fairness, right, yes, we did have a major in March, which was the first time, as I say, in 3 years since March 2020, where multiplayer has been bigger than Warzone. But in fairness, like a lot of March, the end of March, there were no matches on, right? So this has definitely got the possibility to go even higher in future. Yes, Scump, of course, with his watch party primarily and the CDL channel are carrying pretty hard, but Zuma, Shotzzy, like this is in terms of watch time hours. TP's up here as well, Symphony, a lot of these guys, of course, playing ranked play, and even Parasite was in the top 10, I thought was quite nice to see as well. So just goes to show how Warzone's on the down, but, the CDL and multiplayer in general helped in large part by ranked play, it's got to be said. And I do wonder whether, surely Activision and Infinity would have to look at this and say, damn, like the people who are actually playing our game right now are playing ranked, and it's not a massive surprise. It's, to competitive fans, it's a no-brainer why that maintains the longevity of a game. I guess they haven't seen that for some time, but now with Warzone struggling and floundering a little bit, they're going to have to realize that the competitive part of their game is actually very crucial to keeping it alive in the long term. So hopefully that's one positive we can see. And also a pretty remarkable stat, it was 1 year ago yesterday that Los Angeles Guerrillas won Major 2. Of course, last year that the season schedule was pushed back somewhat compared to this year, but still, what a ridiculous tournament victory it was with Slasher, Spart MVP, Huke and aBeZy. Yeah, so much has changed for these guys since that time, of course. But let's talk about Vivid getting benched from the Boston Breach. This is certainly a surprise to me in terms of the timing of it. I'm not overly surprised by this change, and I'll dive into why in the coming minutes here. I'm quite actually impressed by Boston trying to make a move like this, but at the same time, they beat Toronto just a couple of days ago, right? They lost to Vegas on the Friday, that wasn't a good result for them, but they beat their reigning Major 3 champions at the end of the weekend in a Game 5, an impressive result. They'd gone Game 5 with them at the Major, they then beat them again online to get some revenge, and the noises coming out of the team were quite positive. Okay, yeah, we're back in business, learned from that mistake on Friday against Vegas, and now, Boston coming different again, but now they bench Vivid in the team. So definitely a surprising timing of this. I thought that, okay, it made sense for them to stick with the roster after they got top 4 at Major 3, but I'm guessing their practice and the way things went against Vegas have made their mind up for them that Vivid is the man to go. Now, I mentioned the other day, right, that potentially an IGL SMG could be the way to go. To be honest, though, I don't think that works in the long term. The ideal is, for me, is to have one of your ARs be the in-game leader, and I know that Beans, having come in, obviously he's, he's a younger amateur player, just coming from their challenger system, but I think that Beans' personality, he will be able to be the leader for this team in and out of the game. He probably already is in some aspects. Awakening is just like a pure Slayer player as they come. He's doing some talking, but I don't think Awakening's really doing any leading, and Nero is maybe in a similar boat, as is Vivid. So I think Beans does have to step up to the plate there, and you're not really finding any IGL SMGs around the place. Like, even Shotzzy had to do that for OpTic briefly, and we know how much better he's got when, now Ghosty's in the team doing that job for them. So I think that's what Beans needs to become. But from the SMG perspective, benching Vivid is a surprise, and he says for the rest of the year, which maybe implies to Vivid that, okay, his contract isn't getting extended at the end of this season, more than likely. That's, probably an understanding there, it makes sense. But also, does he expect to go to another team? Because if he says for the rest of the year as a restricted free agent, kind of implies that he's not expecting someone to buy him out. But definitely a very interesting one, and we'll just see some reaction here. So Method says, damn, best of luck, brother. We get this from Octane as well, dropping the question marks. You were right, I'm an 8s player. So maybe Vivid is, it's pretty interesting. Maybe the team told him that the way he's playing it in scrims and in 8s and stuff isn't really translating so well to match play. And I think you can understand why, as we'll see in the coming minutes, because in 8s and stuff, the game plays at a faster pace. When matches come around, especially on LAN, you can't afford to play as fast and as reckless as you can get away with in 8s matches. And I do feel like that's been Vivid's downfall in his career, to be honest. And also because he's just too similar to Nero, I think, for what they need. Scump, though, surprised. I know that Scump's been a big kind of proponent for Vivid, and I think Vivid's a very solid player and has done some great things for many teams over the past few years. But just in this specific circumstance, the inconsistencies were probably too much for Boston to bet. So Scump's like dropping the question marks as well. He definitely doesn't seem to agree with this change, but I do find it surprising, like, whenever someone is dropped, like, everyone replies as if, like, they're so mind-blowing. I'm like, is this change really that mind-blowing? I don't really think it is. So they confirm that Crimp is coming in, and the reason why I'm not particularly mind-blown is because Beans came up from their academy team. We know what Toronto have done with their academy, bringing in Scrappy and Hicksy and these other guys that have made it into the league over the past couple of years. Even Ghosty was briefly on the Boston Academy project. He's now an OpTic. So Crimp has been pretty much the undeniable SMG on this Boston Academy team for some time, and it was inevitable they were going to bring him in at some point, and they were going to have to make a change to their SMG line. And to me, Nero has been better than Vivid this season. So the confirmation comes through. Crimp is now in the league. Very excited to see how it goes. He has had a couple of different, names that he's gone by, gamer tags over the past couple of years, but now he goes by Crimp. And Doug says, I don't know if Doug here is kind of, that meme where he's crying behind the mask, but the mask is the smiley face, because obviously Doug has lost his hard carry again. But in fairness, right, you got to give credit to Doug, because the amount of players he's teamed with over the last couple of years that he has helped create and turn into players that are CDL ready and CDL caliber. He played with Beans. He's found so many great players over the years. And I don't know who he's going to get next onto his academy team, or maybe he's going to help them as well. So, Doug's so proud of Crimp stepping up to the team, but I'm sure Doug's also thinking, damn, I lost my, my SMG that was doing a good job for the team right after they made the change with Beans. It was Crimp that really was putting the squad on his back a lot of the time, and now he's gone to the starting roster. So, yeah, many of his teammates have gone to the CDL one by one, but as he says, this tells me we're doing a damn good job, and that makes me proud here in Boston, what they're playing out with the academy. Now, this is why I'm not massively shocked by this move, and that's looking at the numbers. Doug Lee looks at this and says, they go 1-1 this weekend, and people would say, oh, wow, you just beat Toronto, it's unjustifiable. But I think this has been a season-long thing that's been coming for some time. And they've got Crimp playing on a kind of undeniable level in challenges, and they want to go on better. What I'm impressed about Boston doing this for is because they were, a top 4, top 6 team, but I don't think with this team and the inconsistencies they had, they were ever going to get further than that. They might have made another Sunday with this roster, but I don't think they were ever going to win anything. And, look, OpTic made a change after they came top 4 at Major 2. It was a controversial one. They dropped iLLeY and they brought in Ghosty, of course, and they came top 4. Like, why should Boston have a different mindset? They came top 4. They want to go better. Why should they not decide, all right, we're going to make a move that's going to potentially move us in the right direction? So looking at the numbers here from Doug Lee, you can see how fast Vivid is. Like, his pace is #1 in the league. He's the fastest player in the league by quite some margin. You can see his KD in the respawns compared to his teammates. It's not always about just pure KD, but if you look at similar players, you'll find CleanX, Neptune, and Nero here as well being relatively similar. So that's the thing I think with Boston, is that Vivid and Nero, the way they played was relatively similar, but I would just say Nero was generally on the eye test more impactful overall. And when Nero has his bad maps, so when he has his good maps, it does seem to just win you the game, whereas Vivid, that's not always been the case. So these are the numbers, right? They came top 4 at Major 3, Stage 4 they lost to Vegas, they beat Toronto so far, and you look at the KDs, Vivid and Nero looking kind of similar, and obviously people look at engagements and they say, damn, higher engagements equals good, but not always. If you're getting into so many engagements that you can't be traded, and I do believe that's been the thing thing with Vivid for some time over the last couple of years, that he just plays so fast that the trades aren't always there, and sometimes does need to know when to slow down. I don't really think that's so much of an issue in his hardpoint and in his search and destroy play, but I do think in control, the fact that he's got a 0.9 in control, and yes, they're okay at the moment, 15 and 11, but he's got 22 deaths per 10 minutes, which is way higher than the rest of his team, and I think that is like, you can't afford to throw your life away in control. I know their record in it isn't bad, but having 30% of your team's deaths, I just think that if there was one player that they wanted to give another, well, a change here, Vivid was probably the man. And I will say it's interesting Vivid's career, because he was on Los Angeles Guerrillas and was by far their best player back in the Cold War days, was dropped after some weird circumstances where, you know, he wanted to change, they didn't want to change, they ended up benching him. He was on Dallas briefly alongside Shotzzy, they did well, they made the finals, they came top 3 at the World Championship. I think that team was very good, and he seemed to mesh well with Shotzzy, but then of course they had the merger and everything went down from there. The Florida thing last year was weird when he was removed from the team in June, and now he's been on Boston since then, and it's been okay primarily for quite a large percentage of that time, but you know, it's got to be said that I think if there was one SMG to be traded out, Vivid was the more likely, and I guess they want more slaying from their SMG department, and Kremp possibly could provide that. And maybe if the coaches have been telling Vivid, like, look, you've just got to slow down a little bit, and he hasn't been able to achieve that in his matches, then, you know, it might be affecting him, because as Doug Lieb said, right, he's the fastest player in the CDL by a long way, and you know, that's not always going to help your team. But it's definitely a controversial move, one of the most aggressive SMGs in the league. Should he have been benched? It's a big question mark, and also, where else could he potentially go? I know that there was some talk about, okay, this is Kremp's numbers in the challenger side, he's been dropping like a 1.15 for some time now, this is only over one day, but still gets the point across of what Kremp has been doing lately, so excited to see his progress, and well, the kind of the players they've managed to build over there over the academy roster. And Puckett says, get Ravens to get this guy in. Does he want to go to Ravens? Would they pay a buyout anyway? Method is certainly not convinced, and these are the other rosters right now. I know some people have said, how about the Seattle Surge for Mack? Like, maybe that makes sense, right, to have Vivid and Pred on a team. I think it could work. I do think Vivid is a very good SMG player that can be very impactful, but I do think he has had some flaws to his gameplay that he hasn't seemingly been able to resolve on some of the teams that he's been on. So will he fall upwards onto another team? I somewhat doubt it. You've also got the likes of Vegas that, you know, maybe for TJ at some point, but yeah, I'm not really convinced about that either. So teams that will have to, just given Vivid's career now and the fact that he's been benched again, does raise the question to me, what team is going to give him a shot next? Because I think he definitely deserves one. But I'm sure after this decision, if the team works out even better with Kremp, which it may or may not do, but I respect that they're giving it a go to try and get better than they are and be more consistent. I said it recently, right? When you've got two SMGs that are like Nero and Vivid, they're very similar and they're very inconsistent individually at times. Like, when you've got that, you're never going to be a consistent feature on a championship Sunday or a consistent feature in a grand finals. So, you know, I like that they've tried to make this change. Whether it works or not, I'm not really sure, but yeah, wishing the best for everyone involved. And we now get an additional member to the rookie class of 2023. But very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.